What's up, everyone? I am Tim Oates on bass, and after almost 2 years, I'm finally giving Fear Inoculum a second chance. Alright, so I'm a big Tool fan. Absolutely love Tool. I'm also a realist. I've been down this road before where album comes out, it doesn't hit on first spin, takes couple weeks of just kind of spinning it nonstop, and then eventually it starts to click. I went through this with Lateralis. I went through this with 10,000 Days. So when Fear Inoculum came out, I fully expected to have to go through the same process. It's going to be something weird. It's going to be something different. I'm going to have to spin it a bunch for it to make sense. After a few weeks, I just gave up. Now I realize that probably isn't fair to Tool. It's not fair to the album. They spent over a decade. I can't remember if it was 13 or 14 years. Writing it, getting it out, probably should have spent a little more time. So I'm going to give it a second chance. Now, one thing also is when I got the album, when it first came out, there was only 7 tracks. Apparently the digital only album has 3 additional songs. So I'll be listening to that. If you haven't been on one of these album review journeys with me before, you'll see title cards at every track. It's your chance to pause this video, go listen to the song, and then come back to the video and you'll get to hear my thoughts. It's like we're having this conversation together, except I'm the only one talking. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. The first song is the title track, Fear Inoculum. One thing I will say is that listening under headphones versus like just driving around in my car listening to it, which is honestly what I was doing before, like, you know, these songs are long, so road trip, perfect. Like, going to be in the car for an hour anyway, great. I can go ahead and listen to it while I drive to my mom's, listen to it on the way back. There was a lot of that going on. But actually sitting down, putting it under the headphones makes a ton of difference. You can tell there's a lot of engineering that went into the way the music sounds in the space around you. And when there's that kind of engineering going into the mix, it's really important to listen to it in a way that will portray that. So headphones is one way, or if you have like a really good surround system where you can truly hear, you know, where in the space around you different sounds are coming from, like that's another way that you get it. But headphones are usually the best way. Listening to this track again, there's a couple things that kind of jumped out. Surprisingly, there's a lot of vocal parts that I just did not like. The spoken word part, it's kind of like a pre-chorus relatively early in the 10-minute track. This is the part leading up to the Bless This Immunity. And then the other part that I really didn't like vocally was the bridge vocals. So like this is the forfeit, all control, you poison, you spectacle, exercise a spectacle, like that whole part. Another thing that I really noticed underneath the headphones was there's lots of subtle percussion elements. I mean, it sounded like tabla was definitely in there. It almost sounded like there was like some rototom work. I couldn't quite tell what it was. The energy that you get towards the end of the song, so this is going to be starting roughly about 8 minutes 45 seconds, 8 minutes 50 seconds, something like that. That energy at the end of the song I wanted earlier. Like when the bridge hit, which was about 5 minutes left to go in the song, I wanted that build up to start happening then. I want to start getting that energy we got at the end of the song earlier. So I'm going to move on to the next one, which is it's actually one that's been getting a lot of attention because of the drum work. Like there's lots of reaction videos and things like that. So let's listen to PNEUMA. This song is really, really good, and I'm glad I'm giving it a second chance because while I didn't dislike the song before, I don't think I fully appreciated it. The intro is just amazing with Danny kind of having the freedom to get super creative, really let loose. I love the bass chords that are prominent throughout the entire song. About 4.5 minutes into the song, the bass is changing the pattern of the rhythm just a little bit. And what it does is it makes the song feel like it's slowing down, but not like a halftime feel. And the song's not actually slowing down. If you listen to the drums, you can hear the tempo is pretty steady, but there's just something about the extra space that Justin is putting in the bass lines that kind of makes it feel a little bit drawn out. And it's only for a little section. It's not, extended, but just a really cool effect. Like I said, that's roughly about 4.5 minutes into the song. If you're not a musician, I'm not sure if you would pick up on this, but the very last note in the song never fully resolves. Resolution will come from some sort of a tension and release, and that can come one note to the next, or the release can be over the course of a couple of notes, right? Like you might build the tension and then start to go through a couple of notes or a couple of chords or whatever it is to work towards the full release. Well, this one starts to go down. It's going through the notes, but that last note, it really wants to resolve. You want one more note to get that exhale breath and everything's good, but you never actually get it. But the note holds out for so long that you don't necessarily realize that's what's happening. This is going to be the first new track in this digital-only thing that apparently my digital-only copy from 2 years ago wasn't good enough to include. I don't know. But this is LITANIE CONTRE le PEUR. Clearly, I'm a good French speaker. But apparently that is French for litany against fear. Okay, LITANIE CONTRE le yeah, that song. I don't know. It's kind of weird sounding, but I was reading through the comments, and basically what everyone was saying, or at least, few people, was this fits perfectly on top of PNEUMA in the beginning. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And holy crap, it does. It's kind of wild. If you're able to play both at the same time and just sync them up in the beginning, it creates a different feel for the intro, and it does work. And the end of this song fades out right when PNEUMA starts picking up, when the drums start picking up with a regular beat a couple minutes into the song. Really, really cool. I highly recommend trying it out. Apparently, if you loop LITANIE, it'll fit the entire way through the song. I did not try that, but that could be something fun you might want to try. All right, let's check out the next one, which is Invincible. I lost a lot of detail in the music by listening to it in the car. And it sounds obvious when I say it, I know. But I'm hearing just a lot more detail under the headphones, having a much deeper appreciation for the album so far. And it could just be because of the approach that I'm taking with it. Kind of moving more from a casual listener to really trying to deep dive and hear everything. That's fine. Maybe everyone should always listen to music like this, or at least Tool. Not to get too deep into music theory, but it is a Tool review, so it kind of has to happen. Most of the song is actually in 7/8, which is super weird. It works though. It really works well, which of course Tool would be able to make 7/8 feel natural and comfortable. And I've seen Tool live a number of times, and usually it's just Adam on stage. They usually don't bring additional musicians to kind of create some of the layers. I have seen Maynard strap on a guitar for a song or two just to fill out the sound and kind of provide some of those layers when needed. I'm curious how they're going to do this, because these layers in the guitars are pretty complicated. Normally when Maynard is playing guitar, it's just kind of power chords and they play in drop D, so it's really simple. He knows how to play guitar. It's not something that he does. He wouldn't consider himself a guitar player. So I'm curious how they're going to pull this off. Are they just going to fly in with tracks? Some of the backing pieces I don't know. I really want to see this live. I absolutely love at the end where they do this false ending. So it's it sounds like the song's ending. It's a hard break. And then it comes back in, but it's just a little bit faster. They speed it up just a little bit, but it has just a huge feel. It feels so much different, even though it's only being sped up, just a little bit. This next one is another digital only track. So this is the first time I'm hearing it. This is Legion Inoculant. It's a typical intermission song that lasts 3 minutes. Just listen to it. Next, Descending. So that song was also in 7/8, which makes me wonder if there's a connection to Invincible, because 7/8's just a weird enough time signature that if you have multiple songs in the same time signature, there's got to be some sort of a connection. One thing interesting about the song is there's a water-themed intro and a water-themed outro. They were a little different in nature. The opening was probably a little bit more chaotic, like a strong river and water interacting with each other, things like that. The outro is probably a little bit more calm, but it kind of left me with this feeling of, is this song about cleansing? Another thing about the song that I thought was very interesting is it's almost like two parts of the same song in one, with a very clear division, where part one is vocals and the story is driven by the vocal lines, and then part two is actually a continuation of the story, but all done through music. And especially if the vocals end on "Call Us All to Arms in Order," if it is some sort of like a war-based or a fight-based or a battle-based or something like that concept, to me, the second part that's driven by the music is the battle itself, which actually makes a lot more sense. If you know anything more about Descending, or if Invincible and Descending are connected or anything like that, drop in the comments. I'm really curious. I mean, I'm going to go, do some more research on my own. This is just a part of the album that I never dove into because I never picked up on some of these nuances. So next up is one of the shorter songs on the album at 10 minutes, Culling Voices. So one of the things that I was critical about in the album the first time I listened to it was I felt like Maynard didn't have any standout parts. And what I'm realizing now is that he just didn't have the same level of in-your-face impressive parts. Typically on albums, Maynard will have one or two parts that are really just big and in-your-face, high-impact vocal moments. I didn't really hear any of that on this album the first dozen or so times I listened to it. What I'm realizing now is that there's actually a lot of impressive vocal moments throughout the album, but they're just not in your face. They're far more subtle but deliberate. They're very musical in nature. I mean, Maynard really has a great ability to craft vocals in such a way that they just feel like another instrument. You don't even always notice that there's lyrics underneath the vocal melodies. I mean, and he doesn't do it all the time, but when he wants to create that illusion, he's able to. And really focusing on the voice as an instrument, I'm hearing that there's actually a lot of impressive stuff that he's doing. He's just not going to that level that he would before. It's all very much in telling the story. It's all very much in portraying the emotion. I love the ending, the way it just builds, it just gets heavier. I mean, there's nothing in particular that I can say about the ending. I just really liked it. I like when Tool gets heavy. That's another thing about this album that I was a little critical of. I felt that it wasn't heavy enough. I love both sides of it. I love the really instrumental, the really kind of calm Tool, but then also I want the heavy Tool. I just didn't feel originally like there was enough heavy parts in here. I still think in general I'd probably like to hear more heavy parts, but that's fine. It's like I said, I'm appreciating the album more for what it is. I'll be honest, before I even go listen to the song, I did not like this song. Let's see if my opinion has changed at all. Let's go listen to 4 minutes and 50 seconds of Danny Carey losing his damn mind in Chocolate Chip Trip. It wasn't 4 minutes and 50 seconds of Danny Carey losing his mind. It was probably more like 2.5 minutes. The rest of it was build up and cool down and, trying to make some sort of a alien sounding song out of it. I'm still not a huge fan. I much prefer Dana Carey drum solos in songs in context of a true song. Sorry if you got hate, let me know in the comments. I'm just not a fan of the song at all. But the next song, Tempest, was always my favorite song on the album. So I'm very excited to hear it again and excited to hear with this new, interest in the album, new appreciation of the album. So let's get into Tempest. And yes, there's a 7 instead of the T, which I believe is because there's so much 7, like 7/8 time signatures, things like that, in the album. And I think in this song, there's a lot of 7s as well. So it's definitely a theme. So yeah, let's do it. Still my favorite song on the album, for sure. This is the heaviness that I was looking for throughout the entire album, but it's kind of all in one song. I've already gone down the rabbit hole of music theory nerdom. I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm sorry. Hopefully you find this interesting. The very beginning, right? Like, it does all the like intro and the Tool stuff, and then when the lyrics come in, that's kind of like the first main part. So before, there was a lot of parts that were in 7 that felt very natural, very comfortable. This was actually in 4, which is what you would think of as like a normal beat, but the way that it's kind of split up, it actually feels awkward. It feels like it should be an odd time signature. More water theming in here. A tempest is a storm usually associated with like the sea. It's a windy storm, so usually there's a lot of water involved. As a bass player, I hear, and I know that he plays with a pick, and I can literally hear him like full arm swinging, just so aggressive on these strings. About 2/3 of the way through when this happens, but it creates such a different tone. You can hear it come through, and it's, if the tempest is the storm, this is like when the storm's probably at its, craziest. This is when it's, really tearing stuff up, and it's right before it settles back down. It kind of brings back that theme of the intro, and you can kind of hear, what that would be like this crazy storm. And then all of a sudden, maybe you're washed up on a beach or something with like all this destruction around you, but it's all calm again because the storm is past or is passing, or, maybe it's a hurricane because it does get heavy again. Yeah, still definitely my favorite song on the album. There is one more though. This is the 3rd digital only song. This is Mockingbeat. Now it's only 2 minutes long. I assume it's just another, like audio little thing, like a little outro to the album. So I assume I'm not going to have much to say about it, but we'll see. And of course, Tool has to end an album with Techno Bird remix. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm really glad I did this exercise. I have a much, much better appreciation for the album. I still need to listen to it more. At this point, like I think had that breakthrough of understanding the album, appreciating it. I need to now listen to it a lot more, understanding some of these themes. I need to go do research. Thank you for going on this journey with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a like. It helps a ton. Drop comments. Let me know what you think. And subscribe to the channel. The YouTube stuff. You keep making beautiful music, and I will see you in the next one.